What's up, guys? I am Tay Hagemann, and I'm here to tell you a story about a really awesome lady today. I'm just gonna get right into it. Basically, I'm gonna tell you about my grandma. My grandma, Lynn, was one of the best people that I have ever met, besides my other grandma, Grandma Kathy, but she's still with me. So, back in June, unfortunately, my grandma passed from cirrhosis of the liver. I really don't know much about cirrhosis except that it affects people with like alcoholism and hepatitis, and she didn't have either of those things. She wasn't a drinker much anymore. I don't want to say she was a drinker back in the day though either. And she didn't have hepatitis, but what she told me when she was in the hospital, because I was sitting there with her by myself one day in the hospital, and she said that she had like this fatty tissue on her liver which could cause it. So her health was declining for like a really long time, and she kept kicking back. She just kept coming right back. She would be sick, she would not feel good, and then all of a sudden she'd be like fine again. And we thought when she was in the hospital, we thought that she was just gone. We thought she was gonna die. She came back though for about, I think it was a week. We got her home, and she passed with all of us there. Remember, my dad called me that day, and he said, "Oh, Grandma's not doing too well, and they say she only has a few hours left. I think you need to come over." So I lived right down the street from her, and so I went right over, and everybody was there. My aunts were there, my cousins were there. Some of the close family friends were there. I don't think her sisters were there yet. Maybe they came. I don't know if they came and left. I know they came to the hospital, but the day's kind of all just blurry because, we were all sitting there just crying because the monarch of our family was just sitting there in a way that I've never wanted to see my grandma, which was just her just breathing and just not sounding good when she was breathing, and it was really sad. I didn't really get to process what was going on until, way after the fact. That's why I'm talking about it now. I feel like you never really realize that you miss someone, or you will miss someone until they're actually gone, because, she was with us for a really long time. I know me and my ex used to go and visit her, not very frequently, but we would go just because she wasn't feeling well. We'd go and say hi to her. I know sometimes by myself I would bring her like a smoothie or something because she really liked that. She used to hate people just dropping in though, because especially when she couldn't get ready, or you had to just call her and say, "Hey, I'm pulling into your driveway," and then she'd be like, "Oh, okay, I guess you can come inside," and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, she was just one in a million. She was always so cool. She was so funny. She was always there for me. She always gave the best birthday and Christmas presents. She came to every single band concert that I had, and she came to every birthday party that was a family birthday party. She was so excited when I said I was getting married that she was like, "I want to make food for it," and we ended up not, I ended up not getting married, which is whatever. But I remember how excited she was for it. And she had these few things in her life when her health was declining that she could look forward to, and one of those was like our family reunion party, and she's like, "I'm so excited to go to the party." And I went to the party, and she didn't get to go because she unfortunately passed, and it was just kind of weird. weird that she wasn't there. Our whole family was together and she wasn't. I know Thanksgiving and Christmas this year aren't going to be the same because, she's not there sitting at the head of the table and everybody's. This is the thing about my grandma, okay? Like, and I'm not saying this in a derogatory way for, like, my family who is, like, watching this. Like, I love my grandma, but I've noticed that, like, she sits in this one spot on Christmas or Thanksgiving, or like if she's somewhere and like everybody just kind of hovers around her, like, do you need anything, or can I bring you something? Like, this is kind of how grandma was. We just kind of all hovered around her, and she was the center of everything, and we just were all just kind of sitting around her. She was so cool. I'm gonna probably say it like a million times, but one of my favorite memories with her, she loved to tell these two stories. There were two stories. When I was little, I don't know how old I was, but I was staying at their house for some reason. I think I just wanted to have a sleepover with my grandparents. So, excuse me. I went over to my grandparents' house, and for dinner, my grandma made these like two huge pieces of like frying ham. They come in like individual like packages. And her and my grandpa shared like this big piece of ham. They shared it, split it in half. And I ate the whole big piece of ham. I was probably like 5 or 6. And that was like one of my grandma's favorite stories to tell, just because there was this like little 5-year-old eating this a huge piece of ham with whatever else there was. And she just thought that was really funny, I guess. I don't know. I guess it's kind of funny. Just think about like a piece of ham that's like bigger than like a 6-year-old's face. And yeah. But the second story that's like one of my favorite memories of her is I was like 12, and when I was in like middle school, we used to have Grandparents' Day at the Catholic school that I went to, and her and my grandpa always came. Before my grandpa got sick, but that's another story for another day. But her and my grandpa would always come, and this day we were sitting there, and we were just doing activities with our grandparents, and one of the activities was a geography bee. It's there's like a nationwide like geography bee, but we were just doing a fun little, one with the grandparents. And my grandma knew every single question. She was so smart. She was the smartest woman that I've ever met. She knew the answer to everything. And then since she knew the answer to everything, she said that she was always right. So, you never really fought that, She was just always right. And the only question she didn't know of the geography bee was the one question that I knew. And I asked her if she knew, and she said no. And I said, well, I do, Grandma. And she said, raise your hand and say it. I forgot what the question was. I think it was like, I don't know. I don't even want to try to remember, because I'll probably embarrass myself if I try to remember. Something about the amendments or something, how many there are, or something along the lines. And she didn't remember, and I knew. And I answered the question, and my team won because of me and my grandma. And it was just one of the coolest things. I just remember everybody being so excited. We didn't win anything, because it was in school, and we were just like doing practice questions with our grandparents. But nobody else knew the questions or the answers to the questions, and my grandma just knew everything. It was just a fun time. Yeah, she is just, I don't really know. She was just amazing. Everything that she was a great cook. She cooked with a lot of butter. I feel like a lot of grandmas cook with a lot of butter, but she cooked with a lot of butter. Very fattening food. She always wore these blouses that had the weirdest prints on them, which was just funny to me. She always had clip-on earrings, because she never went to get her ears pierced. And she was 82 when she passed, and she never had her ears pierced. And she had these clip-on earrings that my sister and I used to play with when we would go over there when we were kids, if my grandparents were babysitting us. And we put these clip-on earrings on my grandpa, and oh, poor grandpa. She had these big necklaces, and we used to just play with that stuff. And now we have all of them because she passed. I have a bunch of her rings. I took a bunch of rings and necklaces. I have a bracelet of hers that she had. I'm trying to think what else I have of hers. I don't know. I took like the small things. I have a mirror. That's what it was. I took a mirror of hers. Like, I took some small things. So I was like, where am I gonna put this stuff? But my sister, I went to my mom's house where my sister's living right now. A few weeks ago, and I walked down into her room, and she has this huge picture of a chimpanzee playing the saxophone hanging up in her room that my grandma had in her basement. This basement was like a time capsule of the 70s. The floor, there was a pool table in there, just the jukebox, there was a bar. It looked like you were just hanging out in like the 1970s when you were down there. It was so funny. Yeah, she had this big picture. Like, that's the type of stuff that my grandma had. It was all like really, I don't want to say weird, but it was just, that's what she liked. It was like stuff like that. She painted her wall in her bathroom like Tiffany blue, and had this really weird like wallpaper, like some black and white floral wallpaper, and it was, you know, that's what she liked. She liked that kind of stuff. My aunt's room, I think, was almost the exact same from when they moved out, if I'm not mistaken. I could be mistaken, but you know, whatever. She had carpet in the kitchen, which I think is so gross in the kitchen, but it's whatever. It was always like that. They took the flooring up after she passed and we were selling the house, and there was beautiful hardwood under all this carpet. And that was the thing back in the day, like, with carpet. You put carpet over nice, beautiful hardwood. So the hardwood was almost brand new because nobody actually really walked on it. But yeah, she always had the blinds closed, and they were the same blinds forever. These horrible, horrible, ugly, like navy blue curtains. Yeah, it was always so dark in there. I think she always thought that somebody was going to like look into her window, even though I know nobody would. Oh, speaking of that, yeah. So right outside her window, there was these bushes, kind of like prickly bushes. I don't want to say prickly, but there were some bushes. And one day she was going out to get the paper or do something, and my cousin Juan was living with her at the time, and my grandma slipped and fell into the bushes. I shouldn't be laughing, but she was fine. She was okay. But she fell into the bushes, and she couldn't get out. She was calling for like my cousin Juan for a while, and then finally she got out. And Juan comes out, "Hey, Grandma, were you calling me?" And she goes, "Yes, I fell into the bushes. You didn't hear me outside?" And she's all scratched up, and, you know, Juan felt bad. But the funny part of the story is she fell into the bushes when I was like 12, 13, maybe even younger. And the indent of her falling into the bushes was still there up until the last time I walked into her house. It was just so funny. We'd pick her up to go somewhere, like, "Hey, Grandma, I see where you fell into the bushes." And she's like, "Yep, it's still there." I mean, you had to be there to know that it was funny, but like, it was just so funny that the indent of her in these bushes was still there. And they probably are still there, because I don't think they tore those bushes out when they sold the house. But yeah. Yeah. Another story of my grandma just being the absolute savage that she is one time I was low on cash, and because I think my mom took some of my money and didn't have any money, so I needed gas, and my dad was in town, and I called my dad crying because my mom took my money, and dad said, well, come over to grandma's and I'll give you my quick trip card, fill up with gas and yada yada. So I did, and my grandma saw that I was upset, so she pulls me to the kitchen and she takes a $20 bill and a White Claw out of her purse and says, don't tell your mom, she's a bitch. It was so funny. Then she starts like snickering. It was just such a grandma thing. I went over to her house like when I got my lip pierced. I call it a Medusa piercing, so I have my lip pierced right here. And I walk in and like my lip was swollen up to like 4 times the size, and I'm like, "Hi, grandma." Like, I can't talk, and she's like, "What did you do to your face?" And I said, "Don't tell my dad." And because I didn't want my dad to know. And she's like, "I won't tell your dad, but that thing's ugly." Oh my god. She was just so funny and just so honest and just so caring. She was honestly one of my best friends, and I miss her so much. It's just insane and how much you miss somebody and you don't realize that you're actually gonna miss them until they're gone. I know I already said that, but I think about her like every day. Because I can't just call my grandma anymore, go over there and be like, "Hey, how are you?" Like, I think about how Thanksgiving's going to be this year if I even go, and that it's just going to be weird. I talk to my grandma the entire time I'm at Thanksgiving or Christmas. I sit next to her and I talk to her and I get her drinks, which was like a glass of wine or like some type of like, is mint schnapps a thing? I think that's a thing. I don't know. It was something mint, and she'd drink it. And then if you gave her like 2 glasses of it, she would get kind of tipsy, and then she'd get even more funny. She was just a character. Yeah. I don't know. I feel like I need to stop thinking about it like that, but I don't know. It's weird with loss. Like, I haven't really experienced loss ever in my life. I mean, yeah, like I have weird abandonment issues, but that's another story in itself, which is like, parents and ex-boyfriends and all that kind of stuff. But like, I've never really experienced somebody close to me dying. I mean, when my grandfather died, I was 17. And I don't want to say that I wasn't really particularly close to him, but he had dementia and all this stuff and was in a home, like a nursing home. And so I didn't see him all the time. Interacting with him was, being like, "Hi, Grandpa," and just sitting there with him and talking. And he would just listen. For after a while, he forgot how to talk and all this kind of stuff. So it was just kind of visiting him and sitting there and just telling him how much you loved him. But, he passed and it was sad. But we still had Grandma. And then this whole stuff with the cirrhosis, I think, just came out of nowhere. And, after like I think she was struggling for like a year and a half. And then, she lost her fight. And, we all wanted her to live, and we all wanted her to be able to stay with us. My family prayed. I don't pray. I don't really believe in that stuff. Christianity and God and all that fun jazz. But my whole viewpoint on the whole thing was like, "Grandma, if you're ready to go, then go." And she said, "I'm not ready." She made jokes for a really long time about how I could die any minute. Lord, take me now, And then all of a sudden she got to that point and she's like, "I'm not ready." And we didn't want her to go. But I'm happy that she went when she did, because I didn't want to see my grandma suffer anymore. The suffering is what kills you the most. I mean, yeah, she's gone, but seeing somebody that you love in pain is just, you almost wish for them to just go where they need to go, meaning heaven or wherever you believe. So, yeah, that's what happened. I don't know what's going to happen when I lose, like, my other grandma, but I guess we'll cross that bridge when we get there. I don't want to think about that. I feel like I say a lot. Oops. Yeah. But, that's kind of the story about my grandma and all this kind of stuff. Sorry to be super negative, but I mean, it is called Sad Girl Next Door, so I got to talk about some things, and I feel like we all have experienced the loss of a family member at some point, or we will, and, you know, you just got to take it day by day, and sometimes it doesn't get easier, but you at least cope with it. Like, the way that I was able to cope with my grandmother passing is just knowing that she's not suffering and she's not in pain anymore, and, you know, wherever people end up after they die, at least she's with my grandpa, because she did tell me, she's like, these past 2 years I've really missed your grandpa. So wherever she is, I know that she's with him, and she's having a grand time, whatever they're doing. But, you know, wishing that they were still here is just, or wishing that they would pull through and, you know, not die. I feel like that's kind of selfish. Just, you know, seeing them lie there in so much pain. I don't even really know how it all started. Like, all of a sudden, my cousin went over there to bring her lunch, and she found my grandma, and my grandma was just really confused. So my cousin called the paramedics, and they came over, and it just declined from there. But I was reading up on cirrhosis, actually, and, like, one of the last symptoms of it, like the last stages, is confusion. So we reached the point of it ending. Oh my god. Now I'm gonna cry. It's okay. I'm crying now. It's fine. But yeah, I mean, basically the reason why I'm going through and telling you this is because we all experience loss, and sometimes it doesn't, it doesn't, you know, doesn't feel real. But, you know, she was really special to me and to everybody else in our family, and I know everybody has those special people in their life, and really, I guess the point is, because I know I didn't really cherish my time with her until it was almost too late. I mean, her last days I was there with her. I'd go over on my lunch break, and I'd see her. I was in the hospital with her. I stayed there by myself with her. Well, because everybody in my family was getting so tired, we were there 24/7, and I would sit there with her while people went to go and eat, and you know, she'd just tell me things I really don't want to say on air, but it was just I cherished those last moments with her a lot, and it kind of sucks that I didn't really I took my grandma, I think, for granted for a while, because I didn't realize that one day I actually wouldn't have her. So really, guys, go and cherish the people in your life that are there for you, because one day they're not going to be here and you're not going to have them, and it's going to suck and it's going to hurt, and you're going to wish that you did things a lot differently, kind of like I do. But I think at that point, I think it's okay to wrap up. Again, my name is Taylor of the Sad Girl Next Door podcast, and this episode is dedicated to my grandma, Lynne Hagemann. Thanks, guys, for watching. Bye-bye.